1.6, one out of the two verses in the purport, the first line, Srila Prabhupada writes that the morning time is most suitable for spiritual activities. You can find out that, I think. Mostly 1.1.5, I think, yeah. So, all of us have taken to the life of mendicants. So, the early morning hours are very suitable for us to be contemplative, reflective, and absorb in spiritual activities. In the Bhagavad Gita, you will see Lord Krishna says that in the second, third chapter, there's a lot of talk about, controlling the senses, controlling the mind. You will see that. The path of spiritual life. And sometimes devotees think that this is all for the jnanis and yogis, not for devotees. But you will see that Upadeshamrita starts with Vacha. First 2-3 verses are, focused on, giving up the lower nature. The reason is our spiritual absorption requires a peaceful mind. If mind is filled with roaring waves of either sensual or speculative vibrations, then the mind is not able to peacefully focus on, Krishna's name, form, qualities, pastimes, activities, even if it is spoken, even if it is available also. So therefore, there is a lot of talk about that. At the same time, although we say that the mind should be controlled, then the senses can be controlled. But controlling mind is also not very easy thing. We heard about it several times. So I'll tell you a little story. If you think about the meaning of the story, we will learn the secret of the mind and sense control. Once upon a time, a Radheshyam king, he felt that my son is quite frivolous and naughty, and I want to see him groomed as the next king, as a successor. So let me send him to some sage in the forest. So I sent him on to one devotee sage and told him that please train my son very nicely so that tomorrow, he'll be able to take responsibility. Now he's just playful. So he sent him to the sage. So this boy, when he went to the Gurukula, he saw that in the Gurukul, the facilities are very meager. There is a gobar on the floor, a gobar wall, and there are cows, there is greenery all around. And the food was very simple. They were eating berries and roots and simple, very simple. So he was shocked. How did my father send me to this place? So immediately he told his um, assistant, soldiers who had come, please arrange one nice accommodation for me. So I arranged one house, like a palatial, like a palace kind of thing in the forest. They arranged it. So he also told his cook that, I will eat what you cook there, and I will come and take training from the sage. So he would walk down to attend the classes. Again, he would go back and live in his own palatial bungalow and eat nice food. And the sage saw that this fellow is eating very opulent foods and everything. But then he is coming to the classes and he is either dozing or his mind is very hyperactive. He's not able to absorb the message. So the sage was thinking what to do with this fellow. Then he told the cook that, please, I will tell you what to cook. Give simple khichdi to this fellow. Don't give him very opulent foods. And sage thought that after eating khichdi, when he attends the programs, slowly I can bring him to the Gurukula. He wanted to make him gradually become more serious and all. But then the cook won't listen to the sage because he was afraid. Prince, is king's son. If I don't obey him, maybe he'll get upset with me. So the cook said, I'm sorry, sir. Although you are a great sage, I agree. I offer my obeisances to you. But I have to follow the prince. So in this way, he was continued to cook what the cook demanded. And he was eating very heavy items and very opulent items, food and everything. So then the sage reported to the king that you want your son to get trained, but I'm sorry to say he is not ready for training. You have sent him to forest, but he is living in another palace. He left your palace, now he's living in another palace. And he left that place, but here he's eating very opulent foods in the forest, and he is just coming and going, hearing little knowledge because out of respect for you, he's coming and hearing and going, but he's not able to assimilate what he is learning. So the king asked, okay, you tell me what is to be done. He said, you can kindly put a word to the cook. So I will tell him exactly what will benefit this fellow, what are sattvic items which should be cooked and everything. And the king called the cook and said, hey, henceforth you should do what sage says, not what prince says. So the cook agreed. My dear king, you have told now. Salam. I will follow it. Whatever you say, I will follow it. And the cook went to the forest. Alam. Now the cook was exactly making the menu as per the sage's plan. So the prince saw the food. He became angry. Hey, why have you made like this? Because sage has said, why are you listening to him? You should listen to me. He said, no, your father has told. Then the prince became little afraid. Oh, father has told. He was very respectful to father. He couldn't protest against the father. Mm. So your father has said that at least till this training program, you have to, take whatever is provided here. That's what the cook, So the father has spoken to the sage and the cook, both of them. So I have to oblige, the cook said. So then the prince tolerated. Although he was not happy, he tolerated. Very simple food he was eating. And he was going to the sage. Now because of the simple food is, naturally he was able to sit down and peacefully hear what the sage was saying. And gradually the knowledge started sinking in over a period of time. And in this way he started advancing in spiritual life over a period of time. And then now he started liking the food. He started liking the knowledge. He became completely aligned with the sage. And he became a very suitable prince who can become a successor of his father. So the moral of the story is what? In one of the verses, Krishna says that, the soul is the topmost personality in this body beyond the eight elements. Bhumirapo anala vayu khammano buddhirevacha ahankare tiyame. That verse he says, beyond the ahankara, it is the soul. So the soul is like the master of the body. And uddared atmanatmanam atmanam avasadiyet atmaiva hi atmano bandhur atmaiva ripuratmanah, he says. Bandhura atma atmanastasya enatmaiva atmanajitah anatmanasya shatrudve vartet atma shatrudve. In these verses he says that the soul being the master of this body, he has control over everything in the body and he is like the king. And the sage is like the intelligence. And the prince is like the mind. And the cook is like the senses. Now you apply this analogy and see, although we say that the intelligence should control the mind, that means the sage should control the prince, and the prince should control the cook, like that we say. But you will see that the mind, the senses, they are on one side, and the intelligence is on the other side. You will see that intelligence goes by reason, and the mind and senses go by pleasures, and instinctive pleasures. And they repeatedly drag even the intelligence. Prabhupada says intelligence is the next door neighbor to mind. Prabhupada says. So, therefore, many times intelligence becomes kobuddhi instead of being subuddhi. Because just like a man is certainly superior to wife, but then he can become henpecked by wife. So the buddhi becomes a henpecked husband of the mind. And the mind misdirects the intelligence to doing what he wants to do many times. Yeah? So, and then the senses are already servant of the mind. Now, the prince was even able to force the sage that, I will do what I want. Correct, no? I will continue eating, I will be staying the way I want to stay. And the sage also couldn't say anything to him. Yeah? Sage could not subdue. But one good thing the sage did was what? He reported to the king. He said, my dear king, I am helpless. I have respect for your son because he is prince. At the same time, the training is not happening. At least he complained, huh, to the king. So, in the same manner, one should take help of the soul itself, because all of us are souls seated in our bodily machine. And we are awarded with intelligence, mind, senses. These are all avenues given to us. And we have to watch how, and like you all know this very well in the Puranjanopakhyan. You know, you know, there is a lady, correct, no? The dharmic intelligence. He gets that lady, and she has got that snake behind her, which is the prana, correct, no? And she has 10 servants also with her, the 5 jnanendriyas and 5 karmendriyas, correct, no? So, and there is the 11th one, which is the mind also. So she has got a mind, she has got the 10 senses, she's got the prana. So the prana pushes the working senses. Mhm. And the mind pushes the jnanendriyas. The mind is connected to the jnanendriyas, and the prana is connected to the karmendriyas. You will see that. But then the intelligence is beyond all these things. But the intelligence is compared to the sage, because intelligence has the reasoning ability. So it can supply very good, training to the mind, provided the mind is willing to accept it. So when the mind is not willing to accept, then what should one do? One should, one's intelligence should consult the soul, and the soul should directly take charge of the senses. Therefore, Krishna says, Tasmatvam Indriyani Adav Niyamya Bharata. He says, Papmanam Prajihyanam Jnana Vijnana Nashanam. He says that directly take control of the senses, he says. Now somebody may wonder, what happened to intelligence? What happened to mind? No. Directly take, the soul should directly, therefore the king directly caught the cook and told the cook, hey, you cannot cook whatever, this prince is demanding. You should cook, what I am saying. And then king said, what I want to say you should cook is what sage will tell you. Because the king knows that sage will prescribe what is good for the prince. Then the intelligence could order the sense. And that is the reason why Krishna says you should begin your spiritual life with control of the senses. Same with Upadeshamrita, Vacho Vegam, Manasa Vegam, Krodha Vegam, Jihva Vegam, Udara Vegam, Upastha Vegam. He starts with the senses. He doesn't even start with Manasa Vegam, he starts with Vacho Vegam, and then he talks about the mind. He says like that. So, the reason for this is, out of all the different avenues given to us, the senses are the grossest. And the grossest ones are more easy to control. Subtler ones are more difficult to control. For example, if there is a fan rotating, fan is difficult to control, whereas the switch is easy to operate. So when you switch off, the fan stops. When you switch on, the fan is on. Similarly, the switch is the regulator. Regulating our habits is more easy than stopping the habits. Like, for example, somebody is eating sweet. If you tell him, stop eating sweets, is it possible? No. Okay, regulate. Eat limited. Only 2 gulab jamuns. Then that is possible. Okay, that is all right. So regulating is more possible. Mind cannot be stopped. Mind can be regulated. And the regulation starts with the senses. Initially, the senses will scream. They will not agree for regulation. They will say, who is making regulation? Throw that fellow out. Like the mind will say, like the prince was telling. So actually, we all as brahmacharis, we can see that our mind misdirects us. Eating at any time. I used to tell my assistant that, he would eat some days at 11, some days at 4, some days in the night, 9:30, 10 he is eating. He's a young boy. Young people can digest stone also. Then we eat at any time of the day. I used to say, eat at regulated time. Fixed time and regulated type of food. Don't eat anything. Anything that is just tasty for the tongue. So from the senses, if we start, then gradually over a period of time, the senses will become, controlled. Then the mind, then intelligence. And the intelligence has very good direction, which is available from the scriptures. But for the intelligence to implement it, control the mind, because the mind is something which goes by pleasure. And it's not, it's like a wife of the husband. Sometimes the husband becomes controlled by the wife. Similarly, the intelligence sometimes cannot exercise its control. For that way, the soul himself has to take charge. So therefore, Krishna says the soul should take charge of all these avenues given because you have to liberate your spirit from matter. The goal of life is to liberate the spirit from matter and attain the ultimate goal of life. So these are things which are preliminary stage things. I said. Now, with respect to the mind, when you are sitting to chant, the mind requires some object of contemplation. You cannot just be blank and expect to call Hare Krishna, and then somehow or other I will hold the mantra in the mind. So in the Bhagavatam, there is a word used called as Akshata Vishayam. Akshata means eyes, Vishayam means object. Our eyes need some object for seeing. Samadhi Bhagyam, this is also a word used. These are all coming in that section where Kumaras are coming to the Vaikuntha door. You know, Samadhi Bhagya means the fortunate object that the jiva can hold while performing the meditation. So, uh, in your stage of practice, you all have spent many years in the ashram. One has the capacity now. The early stage, the mind is filled with all rubbish, blackish, sinful thoughts of lust, anger, greed, revenge, and all those things. But after spending some years, you come to the inner circle where there are positive distractions. Some thoughts about service related thoughts, some anxieties to advance in spiritual life. I wanted to do this, I couldn't do it. Something related to Krishna consciousness. Those thoughts may arise. Then, as one goes to the next layer inside, that's what I want to say a few words. There is a famous verse, Tattenu Kampam, Susamikshamano, Bhunjana Eva. That verse says five very sublime qualities. And the first two of them are directed towards the Lord. First is gratitude. Like Kunti Manan is expressing gratitude in the last three verses of her prayer, isn't it? Like she's saying, Neyam Sobhishyate Tatrete Danim Gadadara, Swapade Rankida Bhati, Swalakshan Vilakshita. She's saying, our Hastinapur is decorated with your lotus footprints, which are glowing with 16 symbols. Then she is telling, Kevayam Nama Rupapyam Yadubhi Sakapandava, Bhavato Adarshanam Jarki, Rishikanam Iveshitu. She's saying that without you, Krishna, Pandavas and Yadus are like lifeless bodies, she's telling. Then she's also saying, Ime Janapada Swadha Supakvaushadi Virudaha Vanadrina Yudanvanto Hedante Tava Vikshitai. By your transcendental glance, everything is flourishing. Wherever you put your eyes, there is greenery, there are flowers, there are fruits, there are mountains full of minerals and river full of water and cows udders with full of milk. So in this way, she is expressing her gratitude for everything that Krishna has given. And uh, she is begging for his association also, begging for Lord's association, thanking the Lord in coming and manifesting in various ways, as Srimad Bhagavatam, as a holy name, as a holy prasad, holy temples, holy rivers, holy dhams, so many ways, and holy devotees. So in this way, the heart which is filled with gratitude is a very healthy heart. And just prior to chanting, one should immediately prepare the heart with gratitude. I've always seen my spiritual master, one of the songs he would sing just before chanting, Aha Prabhu Nanda Sutta, Vrishabhana Sutta Ita. That I have seen him several times murmuring just before chanting. Karuna Korohi Baro, Naratuma Dase Koi, Natali Horanga Poi, Umavina Kya Se Amara. So he would murmur that while singing, and then he would just get into chanting after that. So, welcoming the divine personalities, Sri Radha and Krishna, to appear and accept our chanting and expressing our gratitude to them. So then that is respect. Second one, when heart is full of gratitude, naturally it leads to respect. Respect for his greatness, respect for his sweetness. There is one very beautiful song about Srimati Radharani called as Sri Radhika Kripa Kataksha. You know that? Written by Lord Shiva. So in that he says Sureshwari, Swadeshwari, Makheshwari. So that song is full of Aishwarya Bhava. Radharani is equal to Krishna and who is the Ishwari of everything. And there is another song which is full of Madhurya. Rasa Lasya Gita Narma Satkalali Pandita, that what do you call it? Radhika Ashtakam, by Kaviraj Goswami. So one is full of sweetness, one is full of greatness. Similarly, Krishna, there is another song full of sweetness. Adaram, Madaram, Madaram, Madaram. It's full of sweetness. There's another song which is full of greatness. Which is the song? Krishna Deva Bhavantam Mande, and that kind of songs. Krishna Ashtakam also is there. There are Ashtakams, which are talking about Krishna's greatness. You create millions of universes, enter into every universe, create millions of atoms, enter into every atom. You enter into hearts of all 8.4 million species and all that. So in this way, think about greatness, think about sweetness of Radha and Krishna. And why we say the holy name is sweet? Because holy name is constituting of these two personalities only, Radha and Krishna. If you think about them, and then offer our respects to them. Huh? And once you do this, these two are addressed to them, then you think about yourself. Huh? What do you do thinking about yourself? Expect their mercy. Huh? Expecting mercy. Kabe habe bolo se dina hamar. Huh? That's the expectation of mercy there. Huh? Ninth we say, no, Nayanam Galada Shuddhare Avadanam Hridayagira Pulakayajisam Abukha Kada. Kada means expecting mercy like that. Then accepting all the problems that come in our life, we can accept that these are all coming because of my own mistakes. If my tongue is bitten by my teeth, whom can I blame? Huh? Will you take a hammer and break the tooth? Heck, you are biting my tongue, you'll break it. You can't do that. Similarly, my dear Lord, whom can I blame? Huh? I can't blame other devotees. I can't blame you. I can't blame anything. It's my own wrong actions for which I am suffering now. Huh? Accepting sufferings owing to my own karma, that makes us humble. And expecting mercy, that increases the greed and longing to attain the Lord. And lastly, declaring to Lord that I am ready to tolerate any type of reversals that may come in my way. But my only prayer to you, while undergoing the reversals, let me not forget you. So you all can repeat three statements which His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj makes. Tolerate reversals eternally, remain cheerful internally, stay fixed in duty. So he said, this is the real meaning of tolerance. He said, tolerance is not that just tolerate. He said, tolerate reversals externally, but remain cheerful internally. And uh, stay fixed in duty also. Like that he said. So stay fixed in duty means all our spiritual duties. So these are the five qualities. You'll remember that G for gratitude, R for E, expecting mercy of the Lord, and A, accepting reactions. Accepting reactions without blaming anyone. And T, tolerating reversals. So in this way, then one is called as a great devotee. So you want to be a great devotee, these are the formula. And these five are there in the verse, Tate Anukam, Tate Anukampam. What is that verse? What is the one corresponding in the great? Tate Anukampam. Tate Anukampam means gratitude. So Samikshamanam, that is expecting mercy. Ikshamana means seeing when will the mercy of the Lord come in life. And Bhunjana, accepting, yeah. Bhunjana is actually tolerate, yeah. And then Atmakritam Vipakam, hence accepting that it's all due to my own mistakes only. Yeah. And Atmakritam Vipakam. And then, what's the next line? Vak, Vidadan Namaste. What is that? Respect. So these are the five things. GREAT. Okay. Harinam Prabhu ki. To offer our humble obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who are just like desert trees or ocean of mercy, full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah ananta koti vaishnava vrinda ki Vaishnava Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki. You'll tell our schedule now.